Welcome to Surrender School.
At Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions with those who want a healthy relationship with food. We are not an official 12-step meeting, but we do try to adhere to the spirit of the traditions. All right, here is everything we offer. Currently in session are workshops, the Supercharge Recovery, which you're at right now, which is Sunday at 10:30 Pacific time. We also have office hours about the Enneagram, Mondays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. till 9, and also on Mondays at 4 p.m. for those that work in the U.S. that work. It's too late probably for the people in Europe, but for those that work and want to kind of catch after in their early evening. So 4 p.m. Pacific time. There's a small group that has come the last 2 weeks to that, so please feel free to join if you'd like. Then the other workshop is the Step 1 Science workshop, the SOS workshop, Saturdays, February 1st through March 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. There are videos out there that you watch and then come, and then Linda adds more information, and that is going great. I think the first time I went through it really impacted my life, and what I'm hearing from other people is it's doing it again. That as people go through that, the realization of the way the chemicals work in your body, the hormones work in your body. Anyway, it's a very, very good workshop. So I really encourage you to join that if you have time. All right, we have a book study. And by the way, the difference between a book study and a reading room, a book study, you read it on your own and then come together and learn more. The reading rooms, we literally read them together. So we read paragraph after paragraph and share on that. Okay, so the book study that we have happens once a month, The Alchemy of the Enneagram and Transforming Addiction with Michael Naylor himself, which is just wonderful. It's different times of the month, but it's monthly Mondays at 10:30 to noon. And then see the website for details. It has all the dates on it, so you can get it on your calendar. For the reading rooms, we have Drop the Rock on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, Eating by the Light of the Moon by Anita Johnson. That is a closed workshop. There's a closed group of people, but know that we do this kind of thing, and we will do it often as we move forward, that people sign up and then come to it. We also have an emotional sobriety Tuesday and Wednesday from 8 to 9. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday morning. And although I don't have it on here because this is an old slide, we also have the AA 12 and 12. And when is that? That's, Joy, can you say the days on?
Sorry, the AA 12 and 12.
12 and 12.
Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m.
Pacific time. Okay, so Tuesdays at 1:30 Pacific time. So if you're into that, then please join that. I've kind of already gone into the Step 1 Science. You know that I think that's great, and everybody who goes to it thinks it's great. We also are just beginning something called First Friday Enneagram Exchange with me and Michael Naylor. At some point, it will just become kind of a discussion. I'm going to interview him 1 week. 1 week, he'll interview me. We'll have other guests that we interview that basically, and all of these people are 12-steppers and Enneagram. That's kind of the goal of that, is for people to see how these two march together beautifully. But Michael Naylor, he did ask me, what are there questions that keep coming up over and over? And I said, yeah, the instincts. Absolutely. People are always asking about the instincts. So he has covered on February 7th, he started, but March 7th and April 4th, and maybe even a fourth session, we're not sure yet, he is covering in detail the 3 instincts, even the zones within the instincts. So this stuff is really good. Those of you that had a chance to go to that on Friday, February 7th, I think everybody was blown away. So he made it through the first zone of the first instinct. So that's why we're not quite sure how long it's going to take, but they were great questions. And his covering this stuff, once again, he offers workshops that are like paid workshops that people pay a lot of money to go to. So we are really fortunate to have him here. I think it's a wonderful thing. So anyway, First Fridays, 8 a.m. Pacific on the first Friday of every month. It's called the First Friday Enneagram Exchange. And for the next 2 or 3 months, he's going to be covering the instincts. Okay. Here's some other things that we offer. Consider taking the past workshops and book studies. They're all out there recorded for you to take with friends. Answer the questions, work on the stuff. You can experience the meditations by step. They're about 3 or 4 5-minute meditations every step that we do. So I'm going to start recommending that we do that when you're answering your questions for that month that you do the meditation before you answer your question, which would be a cool thing to do. Also, working through the steps alone or with a sponsor, we do a step study every year. We introduce a step study, and of course, they stay out there so that you can have your own flavor of step study, whatever it is you want to do. And then also consider attending our in-person retreat. Oh, it's not 2025 in Los Angeles. Instead, it's 2026. Probably in Las Vegas. They're still beginning. If you'd like to work on that with Joy and Company, please let them know that you would like to work on the retreat. We've got a little more than a year to get it done, so that'd be great. Okay. And then finally, all of this information can be found on surrenderschool.org, so you'll want to go there. All right. Consider being a volunteer. We always need volunteers to do the breakout rooms. We need volunteers to let people in from the waiting room. We need volunteers to time. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we need volunteers for. So go ahead and reach out. All right. If Surrender School has helped your recovery, please donate. There's a donate button on the front page of the website, so feel free to donate. We are a 501(c)(3) not-for-profit organization in the United States, which means your contributions are tax deductible if you do that. All right. So Surrender School WhatsApp group, consider joining that. Also, you might want to sign up for the daily Enneathought from the Enneagram Institute, enneagraminstitute.com, no space. And you can pick 2. And then I put here, for those who had trouble finding the question of the week, watch carefully. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you how to get to Surrender School. Let's see, I'm going to go into Surrender School and I'm going to show you how to get to your question. All right, so you come in here. You're going to go to everything we offer and it's currently meeting. And then you're going to go down to Supercharge Your Recovery, or you can get it from that front page. Then you come in here. This should look familiar to you. You grab your type. I'm a type 8, Lionhearted Protector, and I grab that. And then all I'm going to do is come down here, and these used to be links. They are no longer links. So all I want from this page is to know that we are doing week 7. It is today's date, the 16th. It is step 2, question 2. Then I go up here to step 2. Everybody watching me? I go up here to step 2, click on step 2, and it gives me all 4 questions for the week. I want to do question 2. And my question is, what would it feel like to let go of control? I know I'm doing question 2 this week. Okay. All righty, let's do that again. All right, so I come back here. All right, so deep breath. Everybody take a moment to feel your breath going in and out and feel your feet on the floor. And now let's do the set aside prayer together. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know to leave space for what I have yet to learn. I'm considering doing a meditation here. It would take about like the meditation of the step here. I'm considering doing that. If you have an opinion on that, go ahead and chat it, or you can send it in the WhatsApp or whatever. So anyway, kind of cool stuff. All right. So the goal of this workshop is basically it is a personal journey. Our focus is to help you understand the relationship between your false self, which that ego structure built up, in your true self, and to treat yourself with unrelenting compassion because you're human. Some things to keep in mind, work the step by the type, which means it makes complete sense for you to take a test so you know your type. It's got to be really hard for people that don't know their type to take this, because this is work the steps by type. So anyway, you want to know your type. Self-contempt stops spiritual growth. I absolutely believe that. If I hate myself, if I'm contemptuous toward myself, then my spiritual growth may not stop altogether, and it slows down big time. All right. If you do the work, we do believe you will be supercharged. Those that are coming to this, I think, see this all the time, that's exactly what's happening as we answer these questions. I want to also remind you to be kind. You can be a lot of things in this world. One of the things you want to choose to be is kind to yourself and to other people as well. Okay. So here's the plan. This is what we do. We share a little, which we'll do here in a minute. We cover a little bit of information. And then we randomly assign you into a breakout room where you share the question of the week. And once again, everybody starts by reading the question of the week, and then shares for 3 minutes on whatever. Okay. And then we come back to the main room. And then that's, if you have other questions besides the question of the week, or other comments besides the question of the week, or other shares besides the question of the week, you do that in the main room rather than the small room, because we come back together again. And once again, inquiry says the whole point in inquiry is asking questions. This whole 52 weeks is about answering a question a week, a deeper and deeper and deeper question every week. And inquiry means, that's what question means. And basically what happens when we're answering these questions is patterns begin to emerge. So we will see patterns and we recognize, this is a pattern that I have. This is a projection that I have that I'm projecting onto other people, right? Because that's the way I would look at it. So I assume that that's the way they would look at it, and so forth. What happens once we see those patterns and we see those projections is when things start to dissipate. It's when that ego structure starts to relax and dissipate and our true self can come out. That's the reason that we're doing the inquiry. Okay, and this is a quote from A.H. Almas, who's considered one of the Enneagram gurus. He runs the Diamond Method. Okay. So we are going to share now, and the question on the table is, did you learn anything from filling out the fill-in sheets? If you did that, I'm going to stop sharing.
All I can say is, holy moly. This was a very, very deep question for me. And I've actually written on it. I've written it 3 times over because I've gotten more clarification as I've thought about it and as I've written about it. So it was a powerful question. Thank you.
Yeah, so I want to say too that if you have a comment on the question, not the answer to the question, because that you're going to do in the breakout room, but comment on the question this week, because many of us, our question was about what would it feel like if, right? What would it feel like if you blah, 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 right? I found this question like extremely disturbing. My week, I had a rough week because of the question, but I went back, just Carmen, just like you said, I went back to it like 3 or 4 times with deeper knowledge about myself throughout the week. So usually I answer the question this afternoon because I'm tired and I'm more vulnerable when I'm tired. So I'm like, okay. So I begin to answer it and it's not very deep. But then as I go through the week, it gets deeper and deeper until I can barely recognize myself at the end of the week, which I don't like that, by the way, which is why I had a rough week. But it's good because that is growth. And I'm just letting myself be. All right. Any other comments or questions at all? We have a lot to cover today. So if there isn't any sharing, we're going to move on. So be bold. Raise your hand if you have it. All right. We're going to move on. So let me share my screen again and we will move on because I do have quite a bit to cover today. All right. Someone asked which question we're doing today, and it is step 2, question 2 is the one that we're doing today when we share in the breakout rooms. All right. So we are step 2, and this is the second week of the third week of step 2, which is when I cover the weekly challenge. So we haven't been around enough for you to feel that there's a pattern here, but there is a pattern. I've designed it with a pattern, and this week of each month, so the third week of each month when we answer the question from week 2, is where I give you the monthly challenge. So this step 2 is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. We talked a bit about the third week of last month. We talked about step 1. This is step 2. So the definition of the week is merely to say, what do you call this power? Some people say greater power, higher power, God, spirit of the universe. I was in a session one time where somebody said eagle feather. They called their God eagle feather, whatever. Okay. So the question here is and the name is completely beside the point. The point really that came to believe means that there is time. It takes time to do this. It isn't like, bam, I believe it. It takes time. And then also the belief that your higher power can restore you to sanity. which means it doesn't mean that your life is perfect, but it does mean that you don't get in your own way. And it does mean that you learn to love yourself and all those good things we keep talking about. So one of the things that I want to talk about as we go through this is it doesn't really matter the title that you give your higher power at all. It doesn't matter at all. But it does matter that you know that there is something greater than you out there, right? And I know in my youth, I thought I not only did I control everything, I thought I should control everything. And so I was in a constant state of frustration because now I know I don't control anything. There is nothing within my control. So it's like my belief when I was young, a young woman, that I needed to control everything. It is no wonder I had to react over that. I mean, it's absolutely no wonder at all that I did. Okay, so anyway, so the point here is it doesn't matter. That's what I love about Surrender School is everybody gets that part of it. It doesn't matter what you call your God, your higher power, your greater power. It doesn't matter. The name is so beside the point. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you listen to Rami Shapiro, and I love Rami Shapiro, I think he's just amazing. If you listen to him, one of the things he said is that if you can describe God, that's not the God. That is not God. That is some description of God, right? And he also says that it's as if God is the ocean and I'm a wave in the ocean. So I'm part of this whole big thing, but I'm only this little small part. I look at it also from the perspective, because this helped me be able to change my view of my higher power. I don't change my higher power. I don't have the power to do that, but I can change my view of my higher power. And what I mean by that is there are people, I'm not corny by nature. I might seem like that to you, but I'm not. So the people that say, write an ad for your, that seems so presumptuous to me, right? I'm the wave writing an ad for the ocean. That felt very presumptuous to me. So what I do is I view my higher power like a diamond. If you ever had a diamond ring or a diamond bracelet or necklace or something, or just held a diamond and looked at it, as it moves, as you reorient yourself to the diamond, different facets jump out, right? That's what happens is different facets jump out. So I have a couple of questions to ask you. Is your higher power, whatever you call your higher power, big enough? Is it powerful enough, trustworthy enough, loving enough in order to be able to serve you, that you can come to believe that that power can restore you to sanity? If it isn't big enough, powerful enough, trustworthy enough, loving enough, then you need to reorient yourself to that. So view it just like a diamond where you're just shifting it so that a different facet jumps out. I had to do this because my higher power wasn't big enough, powerful enough, certainly wasn't trustworthy enough, wasn't loving enough. And I had to reorient myself to that in order to come to believe that a power greater than myself, because the next step, right, which is decide to turn our life and our will over to that higher power. How could we do that if it's not powerful or trustworthy or loving? We can't. So we have to come to believe that this is something, that this power is big enough, powerful enough, trustworthy enough, loving enough for us to be able to entrust our will and our life over to it, right? Giving our life to it. Our complete will is yours, right? So the only way we can do that is if it's oriented in such a way that we can trust it, that we know that it is powerful enough. Doesn't mean it serves me in any way. It's greater than me. It's bigger than me. It's so much bigger. I'm little, and I'm a drop in the water, and it's the ocean, right? But if we reorient ourselves to that, we can come to believe it. I'm about to sneeze again. Okay, so I'm going to cover. So that's a two-part thing. I sneeze and then I honk, and I'm going to honk again. Okay, so it's a deal. What can I say? At Christmas time, I can honk entire Christmas carols. Okay, so we came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I'm going to introduce you to the challenge for the month. This is the step 2 monthly challenge, and I'm going to read these because I want, if whatever type you are, by the way, this will be out there after the session is over. This will be out there for you to find, but I do want to go over it a little bit so everybody understands what I'm asking from you. Okay, if you are a type 1, reorient by focusing on specific facets of your higher power. everybody I'm going to ask, if you already have a higher power, ask the questions. Is it big enough, trustworthy enough, loving enough? If not, reorient yourself. How are you going to do that? Everybody has that as their first question. But then the type ones, their second question is, or comment, something to journal on. Journal on, your higher power is compassionate always. Journal on, your higher power loves when you're lovingly playful. Try to avoid sarcasm. Ones can be very sarcastic, and sarcasm is cheap.
Mhm.
It just is. It's just, it can be extremely mean, and you don't want to be mean ever. Okay. All right. Now, every one of these will have a practice, and the practice for the one, I'm going to do this, and that's the reason I moved my camera so you can see this. The practice for the one is to sit with closed hands, and as you're doing your meditation, open your hands, right? There's something that happens as you open your hands. I used to do this. I had a friend that had me do this early on in program because I was so locked down. And I at that point in time, I had a hot tub. And so I would sit in the hot tub and I would just release that. And there's something somatic that happens when you do that. So anyway, consider doing that. For the type 2, once again, the first question is the same. The second one, your higher power wants you to ask him for what you want, not just assume that he knows. Like, say it out loud. A couple of things happen. Your higher power hears it. You hear it in your own voice, and you speak it in your own voice. And that's a good thing to do. What have you kept yourself from asking for? My husband reminds me that God is not Santa Claus, right? So, but that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to ask for things. Okay, and then the last one is give time to your higher power, expecting absolutely nothing in return, just the joy of spending time with him, and journal on that. I know that personally. I know Joy is a dear friend of mine, and I know the time that she spends expecting nothing in return and just being with her higher power has enriched her life in ways. I mean, she can describe it for you because it's just an amazing change in her life. And I try to do that. I'm really bad at it. She's really good at it, but I try to do that. Okay. Now, here is something I put on here: practice for 5 minutes each day. 5 minutes is a long time, but this is what I want you to do. And I'd like everybody to try this because it's good for everyone. I want you to put your arms around yourself like this so that you have like this. And I want you to gently hug yourself like you would a crying friend. And I want you to feel the love and compassion that pours out for yourself. And by the way, this is what happens with most people. They end up patting like they would a friend, and they end up rocking like you would a baby. And that's a very good thing to do. That interrupts that whole, whatever that is. Everybody can do this because for everybody, this is a very good thing to do. I every once in a while will catch myself. I'm in whatever mode, Cheryl mode, I call it. And then it helps me to not be in that mode, which is a good thing. All right, hold on a second. There we go. And I'm gonna go to gallery mode so I can see everybody. Okay, that's good. All right, now type 3. First question is the same. Second question, you can feel impatience, especially with incompetent people. 3s are very impatient with incompetent people. Think of a time when that happened. What is at the core of that impatience? Fear of not getting what you want, fear of not getting the admiration that you deserve, or something else, right? Just consider that. And then you may avoid feelings because you fear you're a leaf in the wind. What do you suppose it would feel like to trust your higher power 100%? Could you reorient yourself to that reality that you can trust your higher power? 3s have, they don't want to go deep. And a lot of it is because they don't trust that. They need to be high, something like that. Okay. Give someone a gift 100% anonymously. Don't even share the details with us, just that you did it. 3s usually like to be recognized for the good that they do. So if you are a 3, consider giving a gift to someone 100% anonymously. Just tell us that you did it. Don't tell us what you did. All right. Type 4, first question is the same. Second question, imagine telling your 12-step story dispassionately. Okay, so 4, it would sound like this. My husband and I divorced. My son and I are estranged. Try journaling your story with no adjectives, like absolutely no drama whatsoever. Really hard for 4s. Okay. And then the next one is your higher power knows that you are special. You know you are special. Does anybody else need to know you're special? That's a good journal question. Okay. Find a beautiful item or experience, and when it touches your heart and makes you feel sad, See if you can stay with that to reorient it to something similar to joy. Because if you stay with that long enough, it does turn into that. There's a sweetness to the bitterness. There's a sweetness to that, whatever that is. So see if you can do that if you're full. All right. So for the 5, first question is the same. Second question, your higher power knows your needs are important and will answer you always. Sometimes the answer is no, but will answer you always because they know your needs are important. Fives just do not believe that their needs are important. They will subjugate their needs because they're not as important as other people's needs. Okay. Journal about a past event that may have bothered you at the time, then go back and journal and add all kinds of stupid, silly, repulsive, amazing adjectives and exclamation points. My husband couldn't do this if I paid him big money. He could not. It's just the facts, right? Like all this emotion stuff. No. So I think this is fun for a type 5 to go to journal and add like adjectives and make it so much more dramatic. Anyway, okay. So for the type 6, first question is the same. Second, fear is an automatic physical response to something happening right now. Anxiety is something that may happen in the future to which you experience the physical fear response, that dump of adrenaline. Ask yourself, am I in danger right now? Obviously, if you're in danger, get to safety. If no, take 10 deep breaths and see if you can bring your body to calm. See if you can bring your body to calm, because there is a way for people to do that, to basically calm yourself. So see if you can do that. And once again, you're... Oh, I forgot to do for the type. Did I do yes, I did. Okay. The 5 is supposed to invite someone to do something completely spontaneous because 5s usually aren't spontaneous. Okay, sorry. Your higher power loves you when you're spontaneous is for the 6. And then practice the power pose. And that's like hands on hips, power like that. The power pose when you begin to get inside your head about a future fear-provoking event. Like, you've got an interview coming up or something. Go into the bathroom and do the power pose. I wouldn't suggest you do it during the event, but maybe so. I don't know. Who knows? Okay. For the type 7, question 1 is the same. Catch yourself ready to jump and then ask, am I running toward pleasure, running from pain, both, and why? Just ask yourself, what is happening here? Imagine that you're stuck in an elevator, no phone, no book. They, that they're going to come get you as soon as they can. You will be taken care of, so don't worry about that. To pass the time, you begin singing, loud or soft, the greatest hits of your favorite band. Stay with it, sing all the songs, and then journal your feelings. That's a stay present exercise. Practice the stay hands. And by the way, when you have a dog and you say stay, that's what the stay hands are. Practice that to yourself, right? You can do it this way or you can do it in a mirror, but it's basically stay. And the idea is to help you stay present. For the 8, first question is the same. The second question, one goal may be to move over time from opinionated to not stating an opinion to not having an opinion. Journal on that. When I first came to program, I thought not only was I supposed to have an opinion, but I was supposed to express that opinion to every single person that was in my realm. Eventually, I learned that I didn't have to have an opinion. As a matter of fact, I got to where I wouldn't state my opinion, and eventually I got to where I would say, I don't have an opinion on that. And eventually I actually got to where I didn't have an opinion on things. It's amazing. It's pretty cool. Okay. So the final journal there, your higher power loves your intensity. Catch yourself in the act of overly intense for a particular audience. Can you reduce the intensity without losing yourself? All of us need to learn to do that, to basically reduce our, whatever is our stuff, according to the audience that we're in, without losing ourselves. Can we keep ourselves, but kind of match the room? Okay. So for the 8, open and hold the door for other people all week. I do this all the time. That's just my deal. But okay. And for the 9, first question is the same. Second question, imagine you are stuck in an elevator just like the 7 is. They know that you're there and they'll come get you as soon as possible. And you will be taken care of. To pass the time, you begin singing loud or soft, the greatest hits of your favorite band. Stay with it, sing all the songs, and then journal. Let me see that. All right. And then journal on what do you value. Make a list of everything that you value and when did you last do something with that, right? This is just information, no beating yourself up. It just is to say, you love to paint and you haven't painted in 20 years. Okay, maybe you want to pick that up again. Okay. Practice adding a strength exercise to your downtime for 5 minutes. So if you're going to check out and watch television and eat popcorn, okay. Before you do that, do a 5-minute strength exercise. Things like hand dexterity exercise, calf raises, twirling a pen, something like that. Just do something that is physical, that is a body thing. Okay. All right. We are ready for the breakout room. I'm going to come back to, oh, let me read this real quick. So for every share, and by the way, I really want to thank the breakout leaders for doing this, because people are reporting back to me, oh yeah, it's going exactly the way it's supposed to. So the reason that you read your question at the beginning, you read the question before you start sharing, is so everybody hears your question, but there is also a discipline here that everybody knows when they go into the breakout room what it's going to be like. This is what is going to allow people to stay until the 52nd week. If it was just random sharing on what everybody did for the week, the breakouts would have to end. There's no possible way we would continue doing the breakouts. So this is a discipline that we do, and I really thank the breakout leaders for doing it. I really appreciate that. Okay, so every share, you read the question for your type first, and then you have 3 minutes to answer. The only purpose is for you to read the type question and share on it. That's the only purpose of the breakout rooms, okay? Once again, if you don't know your type, then you probably don't have a question to share. So you probably won't do that. Go take the test and learn your type. Okay, and then you'll come back to the main room if you at the end, and we'll have more questions and that kind of stuff. All right, I am going to stop.
Just a little feedback. We did just what you said. We did the 3 minutes and everybody got to share. And then because there was a lot more time, it felt like we opened it up for people to share in general. And I think part of it is too, we'll get used to how long 3 minutes is as we go along. And most people did not use all their time. So.
Yeah, and I do think that that is what happens. I want to say too, you notice that I introduced a challenge that I'm asking you to journal on, and we're asking you to journal on the question. One of the reasons that we're doing both of those is because by the time we get to step 4, you're going to have 4 questions a week. So what we're trying to do is that gradient that says, okay, we started with just a question, and now we're going to do a challenge in a question. And so what will happen over time, by the time we hit week 4, you're going to be used to doing a bit more, which is what we want, because it'll be like resentments 1 week, fears 1 week, and there are more questions that tie to each of those. So we don't want it to be like 1 question a week and then suddenly, bam, you have a lot of work to do for 4, because we want everybody to hang in there. Because steps 4, 5, 6, and 7 are mind altering, life altering. So, and we're building to them. Very excited about that. Okay. Thank you, Carmen, for that.
What I wanted to share about is that, as a type 4, there's these interchangeable things between uniqueness, or like I need to be seen, or like what are the words, that really feels kind of fuzzy, and it goes back into my fuzzy bin of like, the world doesn't understand me, I don't understand myself. Just like the clock happening today was perfect for me because it's just what I feel like I experience. And so the very last part that I wanted to share was that healing comes from the idea that we live in a perfectly imperfect world. I think you say that. Somebody says that. And it's starting to sink in a little bit. That only my higher power knows how this world and reality should be, and every person, place, or thing has its place in its own higher power. I don't want to accept that. I get that and I hear it and I want to stomp my foot on the ground and be like, no, everybody can have a beautiful home and a beautiful family, and they can be happy and go on. It's not perfect. It's just that it's beautiful and kind of right. Anyways, thank you.
Uh-huh. And you have an arrow to the one. So, okay. And but I do want to say, right, that the 4, this is what I'm learning. And once again, I'm not tied to the 4 at all, but what I'm learning is like, it's, my therapist calls it, I dare you, how dare you? But it's also, I want you to know I'm unique. I want you to know it, but I don't want you to say anything about it. I want you to notice it, but I don't want to, because it embarrasses me that I want you to say it, right? So there's a push pull thing there for the 4s, which I think is absolutely fascinating, because they are unique. They know they're unique, right? And they do want other people to know they're unique, but they don't want them to mention that. Right. And it might be damage or something, but
part of what I think is hard is I just want to be seen and heard. I don't need to be unique. I just want to matter and be seen and heard. I feel like that's a point of conflict for me a lot as a 4, where when you're striking your drum in the same way all the time. You're like, oh, is that what that is? So anyways, it makes me bristle just a little bit. But anyways,
So,
because
and
it's like
here's
I
what,
just want to be seen like everybody
yeah,
else, not to be special and just equal to. But anyways, thank
yes.
you.
And well, here's what's interesting is that the basic fear I think everything goes back to the basic fear of the four is that they are insignificant. That's that basic fear, right? And language is so hard, right? Language, because it means different things to different people depending on, where you were raised, and is English your first language, and what part of the United States or England or whatever you live in, all that. But which makes it imprecise. But yeah, I mean, I'm hearing significance there. So cool. Thank you, Lauren. Melissa, to you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you tried in that word significance, because I think that's a four, as a four who's just figuring out the difficulty in my life. I never knew who I was. I looked outside myself all the time for other people to tell me who I was. I didn't want to be seen as better. I wanted to be seen as good enough. I could never do that because I had a shame sandwich I was living on. My shame was like huge. But I'm really aware how this thing about sometimes I think a four I can take my feelings way too seriously as if they're gospel truth. And my feelings are I usually feel a little bit ashamed all the time. It doesn't take much for me to feel like I'm doing something wrong. Even with this what Lauren was talking about with the timer, my timer didn't work either. So I think I have to update my Zoom. It has nothing to do with the group or anything like that. Anyway, but I'm really like I got in my own way when I was at treatment because I wouldn't have let myself have a problem to be there at treatment. I was already kicking myself all the time that I was in a treatment center. And I was convinced because I wasn't getting it, because it was confusing to me. What they were trying to do is just help me shake hands with the fact that you're human, you have problems, and you landed here. And I couldn't because I was still trying to just fake my way through it and get everybody to like me. And my counselor saw that and he was trying to stop me from doing that, saying, "Would you just please just be honest about how it feels to be in a treatment center?" And I'm like, okay, I can start there. I'm scared shitless. I had a problem with, I just felt like I remember the thought, I am so defective and different from everybody else. There's something inherently wrong with that. And I know a four has a wing to the one, and the one's core fears is being defective. So I identify with that a lot. But when I could just let myself be a troubled person like everybody else, I could relax and then know what I needed to know. So I really appreciate this exercise. I appreciate the time. We had 10 minutes left over after everybody shared. I relaxed as a little facilitator, leader, person keeping time because I didn't have to worry that we were going to run out of time. And we had some beautiful freeform sharing at the end. One person read a prayer that she got doing two-way prayer about her higher power talking to us. We were all like this. Oh my God, that soothes my soul. So beautiful time. We filled it up in a beautiful way. Thank you for letting me share. Pass to the next.
Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, awesome. Glad to hear that. Tamara, to you.
I'll be quick. The shares, I'm a two, and so my question really was about what would it feel like to receive care from others and trust in a higher power. And so the shares and any extra time being given is that care. That's the care from higher power, and this came to me from another share through others, higher power working through others. And so that any extra time is also a way to reflect on what someone else has said and maybe share at a deeper level. So thank you for letting me.
Awesome. Good. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, yes. So there is time in Cheryl time, and Cheryl time doesn't win. And that's because Joy says, no, they're not going to come back now. We're going to leave them in the room for 30 minutes like we promised. So thank Joy for that. Thank you, Tamara. Francine, to you.
Okay. I'm looking forward to the new challenges. Last month's challenges, uh, an opportunity actually came up for me to do one of them last week. So I can really see now how, we do the work and how our higher power will change us with this. And so the challenge was about becoming more competitive and playing a game. Right? So we had pickleball group at our work, at my job, and there were three of us that showed up. And so as we were playing, they rotated. And I just usually in my as a child, when we play games at my home in my home, sometimes they were so much conflict. And so I realize now why I didn't like playing the games or being competitive. I just want to go along so it can be peaceful. And so we're playing pickleball, and there is three of us, and so it's two against one. And when it was my turn to be on the side playing two people, it just kicked in. Okay, let's be competitive. So I'm hitting the ball against two people and playing the hardest I can. And she showed me, because I'm learning too. And so she showed me one move and she said, okay, try this move. And then all of a sudden, I am just hitting in that move. And so it was fun, but I got to see how that change was happening in me. It was fun to be competitive. Thank you.
Thank you, Francine. That's awesome. Thank you. Teresa, to you.
Hi, thank you. I just want to thank everybody for their shares. This is my first meeting. And the question I have, I guess, is how do I find out how to fill out the passion, the virtue, the gift of spirit? I know the mantra, but the rest of the stuff on that page, like
If you want to stay after, I can walk you through it, but it's also in videos, but I can walk you through it if you'll stay after.
okay, great. Thank
Okay,
you. Yes, I'm
thank you,
done.
Teresa.
Yes.
And anybody else who didn't get the fill-in sheets filled in, the nature part doesn't come until the beginning of step 4. So the nature of, or whatever it is at the bottom, don't worry about that. That doesn't come until step 4, but that's the only piece that isn't filled in now. Thank you. All right, and Anne, to you.
Hi, yeah, I'm unmuted. Um, I'm Anne, grateful to be here. I don't know is there a crosstalk rule in
Uh,
in this group?
you have to be kind, and you can't come in naked. Those are the only 2 rules, basically.
Oh, darn, I wanted to do both of those things. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, I guess some rules must be abided by. Um, no, it wasn't unkind, I don't think. And I forget who it was that was one of the group leaders that was talking about being a 4. And it just felt so validating for me to hear that, and this is going to make me verklempt, that other people really suffer from the shame disease that is part of being a 4, and that the terminal uniqueness for me, there were times when I felt better than, for sure, but the predominant feeling is that no one gets me. I don't get anything. This was never going to work for me. Nothing ever works for me because there's something defective about me. I have a genetic, defect, or a brain, something defect, and it has run my life. And hearing that is the nature of being a 4, and being, you know, learning about tools, and being able to accept that this is, it's so, there's such a relief in that, it's not just that I'm effed up, this is just the way this is my construction, this is my type. So it's just so, like I said, validating being able to be in a room with other people that can talk this way. So thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, and the terminology I use is, oh, I'm wired that way. I'm wired that way. That's why, right? Because I think we especially in our 20s, I guess I'll say that 20s, 30s, we think the whole world looks at the world the same way we do. And then when we come to the Enneagram, we realize no, people have completely different views of the world, right? Completely different than I have, right? So yeah, and for me to realize, oh, I'm wired like this. Okay, that's why. right? And then we absorb it differently, right? Some feel superior, some feel inferior. Twos, threes, and fours have a core emotion, a base emotion, I'll say that, of shame. So your default is to go to shame whenever something it feels off or wrong or whatever, right? Is shame is that natural path that the two, threes, and fours take. So anger is mine. So yeah, but I'm wired that way. Not that I allow myself to like spew anger at people anymore. I don't. But it is nice to know. Okay, I see. Irritated is usually how it shows up, and then I just go, you're not the boss of the world. So shut up and get over yourself. You're not that important, Cheryl.
It's so funny though how we desire to be like another type. Like if mine was only anger, I would love so much shame.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not so much, but yeah, I hear you. Thank you. Jennifer, to you.
Yes. So first, I'm going to name what I had noticed since the very first session that I came to, which was the second session, which is that if you are a 4 or a 2, you get so many amazing mirrors in this meeting. And I am so curious whether or not all Enneagram groups that you teach, like if that is, those are the types that share the most or are present the most, because most of the people, when I go through the participant list, are 4s and 2s. And so I'm just going to hold space for my 6 sisters. I only get to hear a 6 when I am in a group. And it just is always so heartwarming to get to hear that. And I'm curious whether or not any of the other 6s experienced what I did with this one, or maybe they're more evolved in terms of the steps. I thought I had done the first 3 steps this time. I had done 1 and 2 and skipped 3 and did the rest of them my first go around. This time I thought I had done all of them. But the way that you phrased it, and you mentioned it early on that you didn't like the if, for me, what would it feel like to let go of my constant need of security through food and trust in a higher power for safety? Well, what it made me realize is that I haven't. When I thought about what it would feel like, I realized that I really haven't. I did a conceptual, intellectual step 2, but it wasn't really, because I realized that I still don't trust the conception that I have. And it was so liberating in many ways, because I was able to come through to a first step, which was, if I knew that I would not have to lose my dignity, I would do it in a minute. And that let me go on to realize that I have felt like I was in a war. My next inquiry is going to be, who have you been in a war with? Was it God? Is it you? Is it the other people who harmed you? So, when you said early on, and the other person said that you do this throughout the week 2 or 3 times, what I shared with my group is I have put aside time on Sundays, but the Sunday of. And so I've only gotten to answer this one time. And I realized I'm going to have to sit with this so much more. But I think finally this time I'm going to get it, because in order to really do a step 2, you must come to believe, but from a feeling standpoint, from a somatic standpoint. So I also appreciated the somatic nature of the practice that you gave, because for me, if it's not somatic, it's conceptual. So thank you.
Yeah, I think so too, Jennifer. Yeah, it's like it gets in my head and then it to my heart or whatever soul, right? But it takes time. I want to say too that I do it throughout the week, because I didn't expect this to happen, but I go deeper. It's like still inside my head, and then I'm going deeper throughout the week. And my initial answer was that I don't, because what would it feel like not to feel like you have to control the food? You could just relax about it, right? I'm like, I don't control the food. And I'm talking to my husband, this is why it's good to have a mirror. And he said, what? What do you mean you don't control the food? He said, you put everything in MyFitnessPal. You know the macros of every single. So here's the difference. It used to be I knew the macros and hated myself if they weren't perfect. And then I knew the macros and forgave myself if they were not perfect. But I still know the fucking macros. It's like, what? This control, right? This week, nope, I'm relaxing. Terrifying, by the way. What? My entire ferociously on a diet, ferociously off a diet, and now just in control. No control. And I'm not I'm eating better. I don't get it. I don't get to get it right now. I will get it over time. Anyway, but I'm hearing you, Jennifer. All right. To Fiona, to you. I don't know where you went, but I don't think you unmuted.
Yeah, sorry, I'm
There you
here.
go.
I'm
Okay.
just on my phone, so yeah, just a bit of an amusing thing, as this all is landing, being a four, I didn't know, new to the Enneagram. And and during the week, I was asked to be a secretary of a meeting, an AA meeting. Some people approached me, and and I've always avoided being a secretary because the feeling of like being flawed, being seen, like I've got to sit there on the table and other people be looking towards me. And but I think it will be good for my recovery. I've collected the money, I've been a chair finder, but this thing about being visible and being seen, because of the feeling of being flawed and shame, all of that. And also feeling that I'm different in a bad way, like or maybe I've got a learning difference, but I've got GCSEs, stroke A's and stuff, so I mean, but that kind of thing, that's interesting. But what kind of made me laugh as well is that I thought it's a day meeting and I thought I'll get some candles and I'll put them on the table, And I was thinking, why am I thinking about candles? I've been going to this meeting for a few years. There's never any candles, And I just thought, get in the middle of the boat, I've heard, Just get in the middle. So I think as a four, I won't bring candles in the middle of the day. It doesn't need it. So anyway, just to share that.
Good for you, Fiona. That's awesome. Thank you, Fiona. Linda L, to you.
Thanks. I will just share a quick one of thanks for the monthly challenge. And so I can check mark off today, strength exercise. When my video was off, I was doing squats and leg lifts. Thanks.
Thanks, Linda. Vera, to you.
Sorry about that. So thanks a lot. Good challenge this week, and the next one. I'm looking forward to it. I've got a question because it feels to me that the types are very different according to how healed or unhealed I am, right? I had a lot of shame when I was in addiction. I would say that as I got into recovery, my faith is that I actually know. Yeah.
So Vera, you're breaking up, but I think I know your question. So I think, I mean, generally understand that it's like as you recover, there's something called levels of health. We will cover that, I don't know, a few weeks from now. And the levels of health basically say exactly what I think where you were going with this is that as I get spiritually healthier, right, then what happens is for the fours, 2 series of fours, that shame, it doesn't rise up as much, but you are wired so that it is when under stress, right? It's like when the shit really hits the fan, I go to anger. Fours go to shame, right? Now, a sexual four also can be angry, but that base emotion that we talk about, right? And it's the same thing. It's like 5, 6s, and 7s go to fear. They react differently. And what happens is as you move up in health, that is less apparent and less evident. And you're already getting health because you've worked a 12-step program. So one of the things that I really like to point out is the perfect audience for this class. The perfect audience. I mean, other people can come, but the perfect audience is somebody who's been in 12 steps a long time and caught themselves like feeling contemptuous toward themselves because they're not better, right? But they've already worked a program. Well, what happens is once we realize our Enneagram type, then we can go, oh, okay, I see what I'm seeing more than I used to, and I want to feel compassion for myself because this is the way I'm wired. So yes, this is how I show up sometimes. It's not good. It's my ego structure that basically is acting up. I no longer believe that ego structure is me. I now know that ego structure dissipate and I can return to my true self. All those things that I'm saying are how it what it looks like in real life is that we are less shameful, right? The 2s, 3s, and 4s, and I am less angry, right? And I saw a thing one time that said, I used to be like this all the time, and now I am mostly not like this. And that is what growth looks like, right? For whatever this is, right? For me, anger; for you, shame. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And I think I kind of answered the question that you had.
Yeah, I do think that I'm a sexual 4, so
Anger's your deal too. So there you go. Yeah. Sexual 6s, sexual 4s, and 8s are the angriest of everybody. Actually, outwardly angry. The 9s and 1s have anger as a base emotion also. All right. Thank you, Vera, for that. And Joy, to you.
I was just going to say that it's the end of the meeting and we need to share, we need to close. And then I also want to show anyone that might have trouble getting to their question. I also would like to show them after the meeting closes. But something you said about being wired this way, what I think our step 1 science does is it also tells us the science of why we keep having an addiction and we keep having to go to food, so we can stop beating ourselves up. Both of these things, the Enneagram and the science of step 1, help us do that. So that's all. Thank you.
All right. So let's say the serenity prayer together, and we'll hang out for another however long, but let's close the meeting. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for recovering with us.